So we're joined all the way from Detroit, Michigan, the Motor City, by my friend Deana Neely, owner, founder of Detroit Voltage. We thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy schedule for us today. This is our entrepreneurship class. I've got a room full here with me at Velma Jackson High School, and we're recording this for all of our friends in Madison County Schools, Madison Central High School, Ridgeland High School, Germantown High School, the Academic Option Center, and our YouTube channel. So we thank you so much for fitting this in your incredibly busy schedule.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I'm totally honored to be here. I look forward to engaging in this conversation with you.
Awesome. Now, obviously, we want to talk about all the cool things that Detroit Voltage is doing. You were featured in the ad campaign for Google and the Pixel and all that, which was awesome in itself. But the way this business was born was kind of different because even though you were working for the city of Detroit, you really didn't have that background as an electrician or as an entrepreneur. So, just talk about how that idea was born because you didn't work for 9 years being a stay-at-home mother, and then said, "Hey, let's make a change here."
Yes, I always tell people I have one of the most unusual founder stories that you'll probably hear, especially as it relates to the construction industry, built industry, clean energy, etc. Um, so essentially, I started working in local government when I was 18. So I worked in buildings and safety for the city of Detroit, worked with contractors, city officials, the mayor's office, and I did that over the years. About 9 years into that journey, I ended up meeting an electrician, contractor, fell in love, had two babies, got married, the whole thing. And so he also owned his own company. And so what I ended up doing was leveraging those amazing relationships that I had garnered from working in local government to secure more opportunity for him. And essentially, I did that for about 9 years. And so I realized all of what was happening around the city of Detroit. People were coming in from all over the world, buying up our properties, rehabbing them. And I just really thought that we should have had a bigger piece of that pie. And so I also started to research federal contracting, and I saw that a woman owned business could essentially win federal projects and then subcontract them to whomever. And so I ended up pitching the idea to my husband and was like, honey, I think I should start my own business. What do you think? And he thought it was a good idea. So I ended up studying, testing, became a licensed electrical contractor, and I started Detroit Voltage. Well, 3 months after that, he left. And so there I was with this new business, these babies, and life was life. And from there, I ended up getting my first contract, and then they just never stopped coming
Wow.
from there. And so we're in our ninth year of business now, and have contracts with our local utility company. So we're working in the energy sector. We're also doing residential and commercial electrical services. So Detroit Voltage has been just this anomaly, if you will.
Yeah, and it's cool because you saw that there was a need. And, it's entrepreneurship 101. You saw there was a need, and you're like, there's not enough people in this space. We're not going to reinvent the wheel, but we're going to put ourselves into the space. And when we put ourselves into there, we're going to set ourselves apart. And you talk a little bit about this in your Google piece, and we'll talk about that in a second. But you
Yeah,
really focus on customer service and communication with the customer because you can be in business all day long, but at the end of the day, the entrepreneur needs the customer more than the customer needs the entrepreneur. So
absolutely.
about how all that came into fruition because it really is obvious that that's what you stand for in your business, but it's led to not only serving your community, but being able to be extremely successful in business.
Agreed. Yeah, that's a great point. So I'm definitely customer focused and customer driven all the time. And as you just so eloquently stated, without the customer, I mean, you don't have a business. And so I think sometimes contractors get a bit complacent and they just feel like, well, they need us and we don't have to be pleasant. We don't have to listen to them. All we have to do is do the work, but it takes a little bit more. And having a woman in this male dominated being a woman in this male dominated space has really been a beautiful competitive advantage, because I know how I want to be interacted with as a woman that's looking for these services. And I don't know all the things, but I don't want you to treat me like an infant either, and I want to be heard And so we make sure we go the extra mile with our customers. And as you also stated, we saw a need and we filled that need quickly. And so one of the other things that we focused on, aside from customer service, was providing service to an underserved community that most people didn't want to serve. I'm a born and raised Detroiter, born and raised on the east side of Detroit, which is not the best area to come up in. However, I'm not afraid of it because that's what birthed me. That's where I came from. And so I'm always honored to be able to serve that particular community in addition to the entire Metro Detroit area.
Yeah, and just tell some about some of the things you guys do because obviously you do residential and commercial electrical work, anything from simple to a socket to a building being built and the entire electrical system being installed. But you guys also install EV charging stations and you ship LED lights all over the world. So just talk about some of those
Correct.
things because you hear about people doing all those things, but I don't think I've ever heard of a company that does all of that under one umbrella.
Yeah, so our day-to-day low-hanging fruit is always the residential and commercial work. So like you stated, anything from indoor, outdoor lighting, um, we do wiring and panel upgrades and anything from a new build, if they need the electrical systems from the ground up, we do all of those things. And then yes, we also will supply LED lighting and install the LED lighting. We have a contract with our local utility company, DC Energy, where we install electric vehicle charging stations for residential customers. And so we're filling all these different gaps and we're just looking and right now, we also have another contract with our local utility company where we're supporting in their wire down program. So essentially, when there's a storm or inclement weather and those wires come down, my company is deployed to secure that area. And so we are training and hiring 2,200 people statewide to support in that particular program. So we are, touching quite a few areas where we see the need and where we know we can actually be of assistance.
Yeah, now I want to come back to the entrepreneurship section, but something I think is important too is because obviously all these kids don't want to be entrepreneurs. But I'm a big believer in thinking like an entrepreneur can make you a great employee. And I think something that we don't talk about enough, and social media love to say that we don't do this, but there has never been a greater need for women to get into trades in this country. And
Mm-hmm.
I know, and you're a perfect example. You're a woman that owns a company that provides a skilled trade. And we actually have here in Madison County Schools, our students can take electrician classes for 2 years and get some certifications before they ever graduate high
Wow.
school.
Oh,
Yeah, and
that
it's the
is
program
amazing.
just started this year, so they can get electrician training in high school. So, as
Wow.
somebody that hires people that are skilled tradespeople, why is for so long, me and you close to the same age. For so long, we were just told college, 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 and if that's your path, that's fine. But it's not necessarily for everybody. And there's never been a greater time to be a skilled tradesperson than right now.
Oh, I agree. I mean, there is such a gap right now as far as having skilled electricians, trained electricians, and the need for them, right? And so now, because they took it out of our school systems here a very long time ago, and in most places they did. And so the skilled trades was always that thing that was the last resort. It wasn't the first, which is crazy because when there's any type of major weather occurrence and
Oh yeah.
something happens that causes the power to go out, or you have a plumbing issue, or your heat isn't working, or your air conditioning isn't working, they call someone from the skilled trades and they're almost willing to pay anything to get it done because that's how important it is. And so the fact that this industry has been one that has been neglected and not promoted. It's really sad if you think about it, but businesses like mine and others that are really working hard to bring more exposure to an industry that's so incredibly important. Um, I don't do the work. However, I'm always looking for skilled electricians and looking to support those that want to get into this industry because listen, if I can pay electricians six-figure salaries, right? Which I'm doing, that just goes to show that the need is there. The need is
Absolutely.
there. And so I'm always, going to schools and speaking to youth about the opportunities in the skilled trades because they should be in it. If they, like you said, everybody's not good and won't go off to college, but they could be really good with their hands or really good in math, and they could apply those skills into an industry that will allow you to earn as you learn. You won't have student loan debt. So yeah,
No, and I like how you said I don't do the work, but I hire the people that do. But that doesn't mean that you're ignorant of the work because it's obvious. I love the pictures of you in your hard hat because I think it's so cool when women are out there with their hard hats. Even though you're not the one most of the, almost all the time, you're not the one actually doing the work. You still know what
sure.
needs to be done, and you've done enough research in the business to know if the customer's asking for this, here's what we need to do, and you can go back and inspect it. And
Absolutely.
it's something I always talk about with this class is because I have everybody in this class has come up with their own business concepts, and we've got everything from online businesses to boutiques. But I always say, you can be a great skilled person. You can have a great product, a great idea, but at the end of the day, you got to know how to run a business. And I always tell the joke about there's another friend of this class that's a local doctor. She's a trailblazing person in medicine in Mississippi, one of the only black female GI doctor in the state. And she said, "I'm going to open my own practice." And she got open and said, "I didn't know anything about how to run a business." So,
Yeah.
what type of learning curve is there? Because obviously, we just said we need more skilled tradespeople, but there's
Yeah.
also a learning curve in being an entrepreneur. So, I don't care how talented you are or how great your product is. There's got to be some things you have to plan for and learn before you ever open.
What a great point. So absolutely. I will say, and I say this all the time, I'm an entrepreneur first. Yes, I happen to have a business within the skilled trades, but I'm an entrepreneur at heart. So any business that I wanted to do, whether it was in a construction space or not, because I understand business and what's required to run a business, I believe that I could do well in it. And so I think it starts with educating yourself about who all do you need to have in order to operate a business. You can only go so far as a one woman or one man show, right? So you need to think through all of the different people, all of the different moving parts, systems, and all of these things, and educate yourself. Now, you don't have to go to a university in order to educate yourself. There is YouTube University. There are so many different certification programs that you can go through. Some at no cost, some at very low cost. So when I hear young people say that they want to be an entrepreneur, I want them to understand there are a lot of moving parts, right?
Oh, big
You
time.
have to be able to market yourself. You have to be able to um, bill people properly. You need to have an accounts receivable in place, process in place where you can collect those payments on time, right? And so it's so many different things that you have to think about as an entrepreneur, and that means in any space. So education is definitely important, first and
Yeah,
foremost.
and along those lines, and you're a fantastic speaker, and we've seen you on the news, and we saw your commercials, and it is amazing how
Thank you.
important that skill is when it comes to setting apart people in business. Because a big part of this class is they all give presentations, and they have at least one a month,
Mm,
and honestly, it's an easy grade, but I'm really big on mastering that skill
mm,
because if you can't sell yourself, if you can't sell your product, if you can't sell a person on the reason they should work for you or the reason that they should buy from you, I don't care how good your business is, it's going to be very hard to be successful in business. And that face-to-face interaction, that being able to articulate and get across an idea to somebody who, in your case, I don't know anything about any electrical work. But what's going to set you apart is you're going to come in and be able to explain it in a way I can understand it, and I'm gonna be like, okay, here's my money.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, agreed. Because, people do business with who they like, know, and trust. And in order to be an expert in any industry, you have to be able to study what you're doing. And like you said, be able to clearly articulate it because that gains trust. That makes people want to work with you. They want to interact with you. They want to, refer you or recommend you to family and friends. All of those things are important. And so I will say, this hasn't always been easy for me. And I don't feel like I'm the best public speaker or anything like that. But I am comfortable being uncomfortable. and I do those hard things to get to that good thing that I want. And so I don't let the fear of public speaking or any other, thing that I think in my head that I'm not good enough, or any of those thoughts that'll come up, stop me or hinder me from moving to that next level. And so I think that it's important as young people for them to capture, get a hold of those thoughts early on. Understand that it's just thoughts, like, right? Like, if you go out and you speak to somebody and it doesn't feel like you said the right thing, or you don't feel exactly comfortable, did you die? I mean, you know what I mean? Like, try it again. Like, it's okay. You'll get better the more you do it. And so that's kind of one of the things that I did to help myself step out of that comfort zone and to, be a better networker, a better communicator, a better, you know, be able to stand out in rooms that I might not have necessarily thought that I belonged in.
Yeah, and along those same lines, when it comes to communication, like I told you, we watched. It's on YouTube. Anybody can find it. You were featured with Google about how Google Workspace helps a business and using the Google Pixel device, and which
Yeah,
I thought was very interesting because people don't think about how important that is when it comes to business. Because I cannot tell you how frustrated I get if I'm looking for somebody to do business with, and their Google isn't up to date, the pictures aren't up to date, the website's not up to date. It
yeah,
just looks like it's lazy. It looks like it's barely put together. But you make it a point to be engaging with all of your customers that are visiting your Google things and using the technology to help you do that. So talk about
absolutely.
how that skill is so useful, and it's something that these young people are really good at. So they all know the technology better than we do, and it can be something that can be so useful, and it's amazing how far it goes to show that you're really interested in your customer.
Yeah, that's the beautiful thing about leaning into technology. But before you can even get to the technology part, you need to have like some type of systems in place, like understand process and systems in place, and then you can implement those things. But absolutely, you should engage your customers, ask for reviews, communicate with them once they give you the reviews. If it's a bad review, I mean, apologize for whatever experience that they had that wasn't pleasing to them, and figure out how to do it better the next time. Don't get offended. Learn from your mistakes. It's just so many ways to lean into technology to help make running a business easier and smoother. And I definitely have been able to do that with Google, utilizing their different apps and systems that they have available for entrepreneurs.
And the funny thing is, I always say this, these kids are so tech savvy and so talented at it, and they all love the games. When I was younger, I was a big video game guy. All that's fun, but the next billion-dollar tech idea is going to be an app use for business,
Oh
and
yeah.
you will not be able to convince me otherwise. Yeah, you may get a lot of
Agreed.
people to get your game and play it and everything, but if you really want to make some money in the tech space, come up with something that's easier for entrepreneurs to do business, and I promise you, you'll be printing money for many years to come.
Agreed. I definitely agree with you. And I'm always consistently engaging in the tech community and thinking about different ideas, that tech related ideas that I can use to make my process easier, that I could develop myself and turn around and sell to the next person that could utilize it as well. So, and I also feel like, because the youth, they are so good with technology, they also don't have, in my opinion, like that fear of failure sometimes. I think that they're more bold. They don't mind getting out there marketing different ideas and things of that nature. And so it's like, do it now. Do it while you're young. It's never too early for you to start.
Oh, absolutely. And I think once people recognize your hustle, it will really appeal to people. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I do have some questions here, and these are really good. I'm glad
Okay.
I'm glad they're thinking about this stuff. This first
Okay.
one is Zayden Mann. He's in
Hmm.
ninth grade, and I never would have thought to ask you this.
Okay.
He asked, "Did the business landscape of Detroit give you allow you to have the business idea you have, or would it have been different in a different city?"
That is a wonderful idea. Um, I think that I would have more than likely, just because of my founder story, I would have done it anywhere that I was, I think, because I was leveraging my background, my past experiences in order to grow the company. Do I think it would have taken off and been as successful? I don't know. But I will say that, having the way that I learned the industry and things of that nature was definitely an advantage for me. So I don't know, but that was a great question. I don't know. I have to think a little bit more about that.
Yeah, and that's a great point because geography can play a role in your
For
business.
sure.
Obviously, if I lived in Miami, I'm not going to open a winter apparel store. So, you have to look at where you are, and obviously, you saw a need in the city of Detroit, and the
Yeah.
geography did play a huge role in your business. So that is
Yeah.
always something to think about.
For sure. Absolutely.
I
But
like this
again,
one. This
but
is
let me go back. But again,
yeah.
even with that, that's why it's so important to think about opportunities within the skilled trades, because wherever you are, anywhere in the world, someone will need electrical work.
Oh,
Anywhere in
big
the
time.
world. Right. So chances are you could be successful anywhere you want to go.
Awesome. This is
Yeah.
Avery Harris. She's in 10th grade, one of our champion archers here at Belma Jackson High School. She is straight Katniss Everdeen on that bow and arrow. So she's
Uh-oh.
a great shot. But she's got a couple questions. She asked, "What have you learned about yourself through this entrepreneurial journey?"
Ooh. One of the biggest things that I learned is that the mind is so incredibly powerful. And once I was able to get past the different things that I was telling myself, there was nothing that could stop me. So that was one of the things that I learned.
And then she also asked, "Did you have trouble finding your initial customers or investors that may not have taken you seriously as a black woman in this field?"
Absolutely. So, well, no. So again, that was all me. So my first, well, it took me a few months before I got my first customer. And it was really because I didn't have the money to go out and advertise or market the business properly. And so my thought was I would find my target audience, which I thought was investors. So I would show up at all of these investment meetings over and over again until they finally was like, "You're the electric lady, right?" And so they gave me an opportunity for me showing up relentlessly. And once I got that first opportunity, like I said, it just never stopped. So we ended up making over six figures
Wow.
in our first 90 days of operating. And so
Dang.
I went from my good city job making what $30,000 a year to 60,000 in 90 days. You know what I mean? So
Wow. Yeah, and you caught
yeah.
the attention of several national publications. That's where I saw you. You've been in Black Enterprise Magazine, blackbusiness.com. You've been on the news, been on YouTube. So it really caught on fast, which is really cool. I like this
Yeah.
one. This is Albriana Towner. She's in 11th grade. And she asked, "How did you come up with the name and logo design for your company?"
That's another great question. So, funny thing is, I didn't come up with the logo. My ex-husband came up with the logo. And he and I were kind of shooting around names and ideas, and we both settled on Detroit Voltage. So, that's the shortest version of the story.
But that's the thing about with technological advances, AI can design logos for you. Or there's also entrepreneurs that specialize in logo design. So I hear people say all the time, "Well, I have a pretty good name, but I'm not a good designer." Well, there's all kind of ways to do that now, and I think you have a really
Absolutely.
cool logo too. So,
Thank you.
this is Shateria Hannon. She's in 10th grade, and she asked, "What do you wish you knew now, or what do you wish you knew then that you know now as a business owner?"
Um, Oh, one of the things that I wish I would have done earlier on or known earlier on is that I would need to get funders quickly. So I waited until I needed funding to try to seek out funding instead of having it in place in the beginning before I needed it. Um, I feel like the company could have grown quicker had I had the right funding in place. So that was one of the things that I didn't do and wish I would have
Yeah,
done.
and she also asked, "What's been the most effective form of advertisement?"
Google, hands down.
Wow.
Google, hands down. And I'll tell you because I've been featured in several campaigns with Google. You saw one, but so we had the Google Pixel, we had the Google business profile. Um, I've been featured in their economic impact reports, and they fly me all over the country to talk about how I utilize the digital tools to grow and scale
Wow.
my business. And so that was a whole nother level. In fact, I had an opportunity to have a fireside chat with the CEO of Google. They flew me out to LA and we did that
Oh,
at the
wow.
Summit of Americas. And so he tweeted about me, put me on his Instagram. It's just been an interesting journey, but I will definitely say Google hands down because even if I don't pay for ads, that profile still gets me the visibility that I would want. And so, yeah, I would say Google.
Yeah, and like we said, that review engagement is so big. People see that you're replying to customer reviews. They know that you're engaged in the business. I cannot, and I again, these young people, I cannot tell you how what a big deal that is. Something that small can make the difference between thousands of dollars.
Yeah, and having the profile there at all, because a lot of people don't even have, they have a business and they don't have the profile. Google is the largest search engine in the world. And so you would want to be there, right? Because that's where people go to search for businesses. And that listing is at no cost. You don't have to pay for it. So
Wow.
why wouldn't you be
Wow.
there? Yeah,
All right, I got time for two more. This is Raheem Cole. He's in ninth grade. And he asked, if you were not in the electrical business, would you have still been an entrepreneur?
absolutely. Absolutely. So one of my classmates, childhood best friends, she told me she'll never forget, which I don't recall doing this. It doesn't seem like it's something that I wouldn't do, but I don't recall it. But she said she remembered me coming to school. I think we were in like the second or third grade, and I had made some little bracelets that I was selling, would sell snacks, anything. So I know that entrepreneurship is deeply ingrained in who I am. My parents somewhat were entrepreneurs and well they were entrepreneurs. So they had, businesses as well where they resold things and so um I would have definitely become an entrepreneur. I always wanted it. I just didn't know that I would be one in this particular space.
That's awesome. Well, I got one more. This is Kaylin Bullock. She's in ninth grade. And she asked, as somebody that wants to open my own business, what would be the biggest advice you could give me?
Well, it depends on your business, but one of the things that I typically recommend to my mentees is get a good mentor. Get a good mentor. I love mentorship because it helps you navigate so many pitfalls that you just might not see them coming. Just having somebody that you can bounce ideas off, somebody that's already navigated the space that you're looking to enter. It could be one within your particular sector, or it could be, someone that's doing something completely different, but you want somebody that's already been where you want to go and to be able to rely on their expertise to get you to the next level. So, mentorship.
Awesome. Well, we're almost out of time, and we thank you so much for taking some time for us. But a couple things before we go.
Yes.
DetroitVoltage.com. All of your social medias are on there. You are an absolutely great social media follow, always putting
Thank
positive things
you.
out there. Find you on YouTube, or is anywhere else they can find you where they may can see some of your content.
Yeah, so DeanaNeely.com.
Okay.
You can find out a little bit more about me there. You can also find me on Instagram under Deana Neely as well. And so I appreciate this opportunity to engage and hopefully this conversation was helpful.
Yeah, and the last thing before we go is obviously you are a double minority in a field that has been dominated by white men for decades. And look, you will never hear me argue otherwise that a lot of industries in this country where there was lack of resources and lack of opportunities for rural communities, especially rural black communities. But times are changing, opportunities are changing, and there has never been a better time for a young person to get into the entrepreneurial space in whatever field it is. Even if their grandparents weren't able to, they should be able to do it now. So as these kids are matriculating through high school and they may have that big business idea, why should they go for it and try to change the world like you have?
Yeah, I think that we all have a gift. And why not share it with the world? Like, whatever your skill, your talent is, it isn't given to you just for you, it is for you to
There you
share
go.
it. So go out, be bold, you can do it. And I would love to see you at the top.
Love it. Well, again, we thank you so much for fitting us in your busy schedule, all the way from Detroit, Michigan. Deana Neely, CEO, founder of Detroit Voltage. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
All right, talk to you soon, buddy.
Bye.